Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of rebrandUS. I'm your host, Anthony Goodson, alongside my homeboy Adrian Ace Simpson. What's up, Ace?
What's up, world? How y'all doing out there?
And this joker, Eric Russell. What's up, Eric?
What's good? What's good, everybody?
Hey, look, like tonight we have a wonderful show. Tonight we're talking Black Taboo. There are issues in the Black community that we consider to be taboo. We don't do these things for whatever reason there are. We have some of the best guests in probably all of DFW, probably the best guests in all of the United States. We got King Thomas Johnson. He says, call me King. Don't leave the King out.
Don't forget
What's
the
up
king.
with it? Yeah.
Please say the king.
We have the lovely, the beautiful, the talented doctor, and her name is Megan.
All right, now what's up now?
I see you, Sarah.
Wait a minute now. Hey, what's up, bro? I'm on here too.
Hey, tonight we got a very special show. We're going to talk about some of the taboos of the Black community, and there are a lot of them. So, y'all, free for all. Have fun tonight. Just talk, cut us off, do whatever, because y'all are the experts tonight. But most importantly, give us some knowledge that you all certainly have. I know you do. I can see the way Dr. Megan is looking and we're beneath her. So we want you to go ahead and bring us up a notch or two, okay? Hey, King Thomas, you've been having me laughing. Keep that attitude, keep that personality. It's going to be a lot of fun. Before we get started, I want to tell everybody, please share this show.
Share this page. Please share this page.
Not the page, share the show.
Share the show. Push the button.
Well, you know what? Actually, you're right. Share the page too. Rebrand us.
Well, we got to hear one thing I do realize with the show. We got to hear him get us one of those beat buttons so we can kind of express ourselves the way we need to be expressed.
Y'all be sure to tell a friend to tell a friend. Tonight we're talking the Black Taboos. We got a lot of them going to talk about life insurance. Why do Black people not do life insurance? All right, and then we got hospice. See, I work in hospice,
Ooh,
so whenever
bad word.
hospice, if you work in the north part where the white folks live. They're like, yeah, sure, let's do hospice. You work down with Black people. Mama ain't dying. Oh, we got to talk about that a little bit. Therapy. Why is it Black men don't do therapy? Maybe Black people in general. And finally, look, I used to work for the Tom Jordan Morning Show. I helped him create this campaign called Take a Loved One to the Doctor Day. So going to the doctor, we're going to talk about those things. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, Ace, you want to go ahead and introduce your two guests and let the people know who they are?
King Thomas Johnson, y'all might remember him from some of the early 1980 black exploitation movies. Some of the that's what good man now.
Leroy.
Insurance. I say insurance guru. Real focus. Right now, he got a real strong movement going in the Black community toward wealth building. And it's going and it's growing. He's doing big things. And then Dr. Megan, world-renowned therapist, has her own practice, motivational speaker, all the above. And it's two good people I've been knowing for a long time. They knew me when I had hair.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Hey, let's go to the comments real quick. We got Vernetta Williams. That's my auntie. Hey, ain't too. She says hello. And then one of our other residents on I'm gonna say her first name. Ace, I'm gonna let you say her last name. Helen
Scracarachi or something.
Wow.
Right.
That's my girl.
Black taboo. So let's go ahead and start off with therapy. All right, first, Dr. Megan, let me go ahead and start with you. When we talk about therapy and they say Black people don't do therapy in the way that it's meant to be, and Eric, I know you can speak to this as well. What does that mean? Is that for Black men? Is that for Black women also? What does that mean?
Well, first of all, it's a generalization. It's not true. My practice is about 70% Black as of right now, and I average the lowest I've ever gone is about 60%. And I do see Black men. I see a lot of Black men. They will come. It depends on how you get them into therapy, but that translates to anybody. So if you're saying, oh, you need to go to therapy as if you probably don't need to go with them, then people are going to be resistant in going. People always try to use it as a punitive. They try to use it as punishment versus something to make your relationships better or your life better. And then also people don't use it preventative. You hear about physicals every year and all that kind of stuff, but I believe that people should do therapy that way instead of waiting until stuff happens they come to me, they hate each other, they ready to fight and get a divorce, and then they're like, okay, fix us. And it's like, I'm not a magician, because if I was, I would charge $5,000 an hour, but it does not work that way. It takes work.
We've asked this on the show before. What's the difference between a psychologist and a therapist?
So a psychologist, they are more focused on testing and assessment, and therapists are going to do more what you would hear about, like talk therapy. And there are some better examples of therapists on TV now. This Is Us was a good example of a therapist. Kind of back in the day, they used to show everybody as crackpots, but there's better representation now. And so that's the difference. They're more into testing, ADHD, things like that, versus therapists who do not do that. We do diagnose because we have to for insurance, but we don't prescribe any medication or anything like that.
So I come to you, and I know everybody got questions, so I won't monopolize all the time. But I come to you, am I sitting on a couch? How does this work?
So I've been doing telehealth for the last couple of years because of the pandemic, but I will be moving back to face-to-face. And yes, all my offices in my space look like living rooms. So they do have couches and they have chairs, no computers or anything like that. And they're not sterile like hospitals. I have decorations and stuff like that. So basically each office you go in, it has a different theme, and they all look like a living room, like your regular living room.
Okay. Well, like I said, I won't monopolize. Ace, look like you about to say something.
Yeah, that you said something profound to me that I never ever thought about. You said that therapy should be used as preventative.
Yes.
So in saying that, and when you said that, a light bulb went off. Like, wow, never thought of that. But why do you think they don't push that the way they push your preventative dentist appointments and stuff like that? Why do you think that's not pushed?
I think because it's not $1 million business like that, to be honest. You think about how much prescriptions cost and how people have to choose between groceries and prescriptions. And then dental care sucks. I don't know how many of you have a dental plan, but it's not even really plans anymore like it used to be back in the day. Now it's all these discount programs and all this other stuff. And so they haven't been able, I think, to package therapy that way. And so they don't push it that way. And then I also think that I'm gonna try not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I think they like people sick, and so if you are sick and you're not taken care of, and something that started off as a small problem breeds into some long-term deep depression, then eventually you're going to be on medication. Where if you would have gone and done some preventative work when whatever it was that started the depression happened at the beginning, then you would not be necessarily getting to the point where you needed medication.
So things that are therapeutic, okay? Going to sit and talk to you or telehealth, however we do it, that's one thing. You obviously are an expert. You can dissect, you can tell me the truth. But I'm a black man. Well, I used to go to the barbershop. Can't do it quite so much anymore. But to me, that seemed to be very therapeutic. Is that on the same level, or how much different is it?
It's similar. There is a lot of research that shows that I've looked at research specifically for Black women, but I'm sure that it translates to Black men, that the collective nature of group therapy or group talk or group therapeutic conversations like that is extremely helpful. And especially for us, when we have the societal pressures of always being strong, and there's so many stereotypes about us. So when somebody can get in a space where they have other people who are feeling the same thing that they feel, it normalizes it a little bit, and it also helps people seek help more easily.
Absolutely. And go back to what Ace said also too. I want to throw in too. I think preventative for therapy is kind of tricky too, because it's still relatively new as far as being like part of your insurance and for your job
Right.
now, right? So that's part of it, I think, too, for it being preventative. But also too, I do agree with you, Dr. Megan, that it's definitely partially they kind of want you not to go just yet. But
because divorce is $1 billion business too.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And I would also too, I think some people think that therapy is pretty boring, just in talking. There are different dynamics in therapy, like I said, group counseling, which could consist of family, it could consist of like a group of a group of people coming together that may not have any connections at all initially, but kind of like the barbershop thing, you connect together, and then you talk about similar topics, and you have those. You take somebody, you take from you, and you just kind of connect from that perspective right there too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always just got to be sit and talk about it all the time,
and it doesn't always have to be when everything is tore up. So, and especially, so I do a lot of couples work, and 99% of the time, if you have a couple that is married, say 20 years, so the kids are leaving home, they're about to be empty nesters, they're thinking, oh, we don't know each other, we're going to get divorced, all this other stuff. When I start talking to them, whatever problem that has led to them feeling that way usually happened in the second or third year of marriage, and they just didn't do anything about it. It just festered, it just kept going, it kept building, and nobody did anything about it. And so, you know, people are like counting down for those kids to walk across the stage so they can divorce. And they've spent, 20 years with somebody that they don't know anything about, because kids can be a buffer and they kind of deflect from the real problems in the relationship. And especially if it's a kid that gets in trouble and stuff all the time, then everybody's so focused on keeping that kid out of trouble that they haven't realized that they haven't talked to each other or had a vacation with each other or had sex in 5 weeks or any of that stuff.
That's interesting that you say that, because I think a lot of people kind of have that mindset where we want to make it to the finish line, right? Like we want to get the kids graduated from high school, and then because you see that happening a lot, with the divorce rate, et cetera, being up what it used to be. But to kind of go back to a little bit of what Eric and what Ace was saying, I do find it. I'm going to take that conspiracy theorist point of view, because I do feel like if we stay sick, then we can't get our minds right, and we can't overcome some of the things that happen to us on a daily basis. So in a capitalistic society, if it's not a way for them to make money off of it, like you illustrated, then why would they invest resources in it? Because the more money they put into it to overcome a problem that they want to keep going, it doesn't make sense, right? So with that being said, a part of my mindset, something that has always helped me back from being in therapy, because I've always said I want to do it because I want to know what's in my head, right? Like it's stuff that I know happened to my life that I may not have thought about overall in years, or maybe hidden. But the reason it's held me back is because of cost, and not because I know how much it costs, right? But I think a lot of times we get held back because we assume that it's expensive to do it. We don't know that your insurance may cover certain things, like you were talking about preventative, right? So can you kind of talk a little bit about the cost that's associated with therapy?
Okay, so the cost that goes with therapy is, first of all, going to be connected to the therapist you see and probably how long they've been in practice. So for instance, in my practice, I have people that are new therapists, and it's what is it, $50 to see them, the ones that are master's level, $75 to see associate level, which means that they have a master's, but they're under supervision. And for me is $160. But I've also been in practice for 13 years, and I know what I'm doing. I've got my technique together. So that's the first thing. You can look for a different type of therapist and different levels of therapists. Secondly, most employers have what's called EAP, which is an employee assistance program that gives you free therapy, and you get it every year. Some of them, you can get it more than once a year, because there's a little loophole that I'll share with y'all, that if you have some of those plans and you come in for one issue and you work on that issue and you use all your sessions, but now I have another issue, then you get new sessions. So sometimes you can juice that. And that's something that you are actually already paid for. That's paid for in your taxes and for you being an employee. So it's paid for by them. And government employees, they have 8 free sessions. So there's your preventative right there. Because I feel like, if you did, for couples, I say if you did like a quarterly check-in, just like, hey, how are we doing? How's stuff been the last 3 months? Blah, blah, blah. That's not going to cost you that much. Even if you paid my full rate of $160, and there are people who are much more expensive than me, but still, if you're paying that 4 times a year versus paying attorneys for divorce and all of that, or, cheating, outside kids, people going to like all the drama that can come with that, it's worth it. Yeah. Thirdly, there's a website called Open Path. Open Path has therapists on there where the individual counseling, the max that they can charge is $60. And then for couples, it's $80. So you have that. And then you also have churches who have counseling. And some of the churches actually have licensed counselors in them. So you can sometimes get free counseling there. You can also do group counseling that sometimes lowers the cost. I was even thinking about earlier about the barbershop thing and all of that kind of stuff. So like Eric said, you could have people, or not Eric, I think it was Anthony, you could have a group of people together who want therapy. So like if y'all said, hey, we're all married and we want to come with you for with our wives for a weekend intensive or whatever, you hire somebody out and you do it. Then nobody else knows your business except for the people who already know your business, and the therapist can't tell because we're bound by confidentiality.
Man, we got to start charging for this podcast. We got too much good information.
Yeah, that's strong.
And I add this too. If you're in a group counseling session too, the people that's in the counseling session, they're bound by confidentiality as well.
Exactly.
They can't share your information either. So everybody go there, you do your own thing. Everybody have this is the dope thing about counseling. I think, like you said about earlier, King, about making assumptions, right? I think demystifying therapy is dope just in general. But one thing about therapy is if you go to individual, family, group, or whatever case may be, you get to go sit down and talk to somebody on some level, and then you get to see like you're not the only person experiencing what you're experiencing.
Right.
The individual counselor, the individual therapist might tell you, hey, I've had many people that come through with this same problem. In group, you go say, oh, I experienced that too. I experienced that too. This is what I did to get past that. To me, that's dope. You're not in this by yourself. You're not experiencing it by yourself. So I think the more we can demystify it and make it dope, I think the more our community will get behind it. And I'm glad to say about the generalization of Black people not going to therapy. I think it's going to be a generalization for a long time until I think more and more of us, because I've been in community-based therapy, stuff like that, so I know those are sliding scale fees as well. Mm-hmm. But I've seen more Hispanic, I've seen more whites, I've seen people, very few Black in those scenarios. But I've seen an influx in those coming in recently though. So mm-hmm. I'm glad that you said that. There's a generalization, but we still got to do better, I think.
And the most important aspect of a therapeutic relationship is your relationship with the therapist, how comfortable you feel with them. And so there are thousands of therapists in the state of Texas, and everybody has a different way of doing therapy. So sometimes people, they go to therapy and they don't like it because they don't necessarily like the therapist, but you have a right to change your therapist. You don't have to stay with a therapist that you don't like. There's nothing that says that. You can go to one session with somebody, 2 sessions, and I don't mean that you don't like what they say, but I'm saying like that you just don't mesh with them personality wise, and you can change your therapist. So it just kind of depends. I do consultations, so you can already know what you're getting into before you see me, because I'm pretty chill right now, but like I'm very straightforward in my therapy. And I warn people at the first session, I say to them that I am not here to tell you just what you want to hear. Because for me, most of the time when you're a Black person and you come to therapy, you have talked to your mama, to your friends, the pastor, you talk to everybody else, and you came to me. And so I would be doing you a disservice just to tell you what you want to hear when it might be something that you need to hear.
Absolutely.
I can appreciate direct. I think that really should be like you said, that should be the only way you really do it, right? Like, tell me what it is I need to do to improve myself based off of your expertise and your experience, right? So from your experience, how often should someone go to therapy sessions? Ideally, when you watch TV, I assume that people go once a week, right? But how often would you say people tend to go to therapy sessions? Like, what's a realistic amount?
It
Hold on,
depends
before
on...
you answer that, great question. I was going to ask the question next. We got to go to a quick break.
Okay.
We're going to hold off to that like 30 seconds or so.
Okay.
And in the meanwhile, Eric, you go get you some water so we can clear your throat. Hey, we want to thank all the people who are listening to us. Janique, Tasha, this next portion is for you. Be back in about 30 seconds.
It's diluted up to this time. Knowing what it means is a great thing, but that person is still insulting you with the nomenclature of being called a nigger.
Hey, now you know big one. You got to come down on my level now. Kid.
Nomenclature.
He went and got some water.
Yeah, had to run.
He had to run.
I needed
All right,
it.
so the question. We're going to talk hospice here in just a little bit. We're talking Black Taboos right now with King Thomas Johnson and Dr. Megan, the therapist. Hey, look here. The question that was posed before we went to break, how often do you need to go see your therapist by King Johnson? I think it was a great question. Megan, Eric?
So it depends on what you're coming in for. Most of the time when people start off, they come in for every week, usually about the first 4 weeks. And then it usually, the average person comes about every 2 weeks though. Like overall, if I was to think about the average of all of my clients, I would say everybody comes about every other week. I only recommend long-term weekly therapy if you're in some kind of crisis or you have, something going on that requires that. But I am not I'm not going to have you come to therapy just to be coming for the sake of therapy, like just to, make money. So it really depends on what you're coming in for. And then also what my thought about is after I talk to you, and then your level of comfort and what you might need. Because even though somebody might come in and not be in a crisis situation, they might figure that they need weekly therapy. And so I'm going to let them come in for weekly therapy. But if we get to the point where we're not having a lot to talk about, or we're struggling to come up with content, then we would maybe talk about spreading it out. And then I also talked about couple, and these are healthy couples. I think healthy couples should probably go quarterly. That's just my belief, because I think that what I see in couples is always long-term issues that fester. And I personally don't think that big things break up marriages. I think so. Infidelity and money and all that stuff, those are all big things, and they can break up a marriage. But 9 times out of 10, it's the little stuff. It's how you talk to somebody every day, or leaving the socks on the floor. Like, it's the buildup of that stuff. Because in the first year, it's all cute. Ha ha ha. I have to pick up his stuff for her stuff and blah blah blah, and that's cute. But year 10, that is not cute.
It ain't cute.
Like I'm over it.
Month 2, to be
right.
honest.
I'm just giving an extreme example of how stuff works.
I get your example. So, question. Our good friend Leonard, who watches this show on a regular basis, he's sometimes on here. He always say that your counselors need counselors. So does your therapist need a therapist? Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, I go to therapy because I also have a life. And unfortunately, just because I do this, it does not exempt me from all. Can you cuss? Well, okay. So it does not exempt me from the stuff that everybody else goes through. And so I went through a divorce while I was doing marriage counseling. So
wow,
that was not fun. It was not easy. And I definitely had to be in therapy. So
in your practice, if somebody come through, are you equipped for shock therapy if somebody needs that little extra?
Shock therapy is no. That's you talking about like the 1940s. I don't even think people really do that much anymore.
So you ain't got no car battery. You ain't got no car battery.
No, I'm not. So I stay in my lane, and who I see are regular people who got shit going on. That's who I see. So when you get to the escalated stuff, that's like schizophrenia and all that kind of stuff, that is not my lane.
Oh, okay. So
no.
I think you need to get your crazy ass out of here.
No, I would not.
Think about it like this too. From a therapist standpoint, seeing a therapist, think about it like this. If you're having your own stuff going on and then you're hearing 20 people throughout the week, right, or 30 people throughout the week, whatever caseload it is, you're hearing all of their stuff too, on top of your stuff.
Yes.
Don't you think you need to unload some of your own stuff? You know what I mean? So.
And especially, like I said, that divorce thing, and then I'm talking to couples who also have stuff going on who is very similar, because God is kind of funny like that. And when you need to work on stuff, he'll send you people that you got to work on it with through them. I've seen it time and time again. So with that all being said, yes, it was a challenge. And so I definitely needed a therapist. And I have one now, and I don't even really have a lot going on, but I keep one that's regularly.
Black Taboos. We're talking Black Taboos in the Black community. Thank you very much, Dr. Megan. Hey, if y'all have some more questions, y'all go ahead and throw them in there. I think Dr. Megan has to leave in a couple of minutes, but before we go, there's another taboo that Black people typically don't do, and this is the industry that Ace and myself live in, and it's hospice. Okay, so hospice is not really therapy, of course. It's completely different. It's not just mental therapy. By the time you need hospice therapy, it's something you probably you're not thinking about. But you know what's interesting about hospice? When you hear the word hospice, you hear the word death. King Thomas, it does not mean you are dying. It doesn't mean you're going to live another 20 years necessarily either. But Black people don't utilize what we've worked for our whole life. Medicare pays for it. Some insurance companies pay for it. Hospice is something that Black people don't use, and I see it. I've actually worked, because I'm a consultant. I've worked in the places where just Black people are living, or nursing homes, the territory, or whatever that may be. And then of course I worked in white areas. White people are quick to put their mom on hospice. She's like 41, put her on hospice. She's had a good life. That's how white people see it. Whereas Black people, mother could be 158 years old.
It's a no-go.
She survived cancer 6 times. They like, well, 7 is, it's a charm. Speak to that. What do y'all think about hospice? I know y'all don't have the same experience me and Eric does, but give us the understanding of why Black people don't like hospice. Let's go to the comments before y'all do. It says underutilized free care. I'm sure that's Tasha Thomas. And then of course Mar Anthony says Ace asking for himself.
I really was, Mar Anthony. I need some of that in my life.
I think one of the reasons why. Oh, you got it. No, you got it.
No, go ahead, King. You got that, King.
Okay, appreciate it. I think one of the reasons why people don't use hospice, and a lot of things we don't do in our community, is because we don't know, we don't understand it, right? Like we all have heard the expression, if you know better, you do better, right? Well, if you don't know better, you can't put yourself in a position to do better. So I think having more educational tactics or techniques or whatever, just basically disseminating information out, so that way people have the information, so they know exactly what hospice entails, how it works, the benefits, the pros versus cons, et cetera, right? And in our community, we don't like to talk about death. Like we literally despise the conversation about death as though we get out of this life alive. There's no way. We all at some point are going to succumb to death, right? This depends on when, where, and how, right? So having more conversations about the importance of it and what it is in its totality, I think that is one of the things that we need to do, is have more information.
Yeah.
Great point, actually. See, I make this comment all the time. Like I said, I work in hospice. And Janique, I know she's watching. This is a comment that I've made in front of crowds of people. I say it all the time. In fact, maybe even Ace. But there was a guy by the name of Stuart Scott. And Stuart Scott was a commentator on ESPN. Fellas, I'm sure you guys know him. He always says, as cool as the other side of the pillow. Well, he died, I believe, back in 2016, 2015. Had cancer. He did his ESPY speech. He won an ESPY award. And he said, when you have cancer, you live with cancer, and you fight until you can't fight anymore. And when you can't fight anymore, you let someone else fight for you. At that time, I was thinking to myself, who was going to fight for you at this point? And then I started working in hospice, and I realized it's us. I tell people all the time that you got a team of people who works with your family and your nursing homes and so forth, another team of people pulling together, making one strong team. And they fight now for you when you can't fight for yourself. So hospice is a benefit. It's not a death sentence. I mean, we are going to die anyway. We really are. But now it offers an opportunity that some people really enjoy and others just don't. And the reason why I say this all the time too, and I'm gonna go to the comments in just a bit, and we'll go to a quick break. I think we got Ace's place coming up next, but I had to tell him because he didn't know. Barbara Bush in 2018, me and my parents were watching television. They said Barbara Bush is placed on hospice. I said to my parents, she'll be dead 3 days, right? And so the media, that's why you have to watch the media sometimes. 3 days went by, Barbara Bush has died. And my parents, they asked me, they said, how did you know she was going to die? I said, she's been on hospice 2-3 years. She got that benefit. But the media only told you 2-3 days before she died. My dad, a couple days ago, told me, he said, hey, what's the football player that just passed away today? My dad called me yesterday and said, did you know they put so-and-so on hospice? And I never did say it to him, but I'm thinking, oh, he'll be dead in a couple days. And he died today. He told me this yesterday. So that's what the media is showing. They're not telling you that they've been on hospice for a couple of years. And Black people, we swear by the media. So if the media says it, it's true. So if the media say, oh, they're on hospice today and they died 2 days later, then the media is telling Black people that you died 2-3 days on hospice. Let's go to the comments real quick. It says right here, Black people, I think this is Tasha Thomas, think about their health decline. Then it means the next text. Can you bring in hospice for 8 doses? There is a 9 refuse to talk about it and want to blame somebody else. All right, here's another one. Because our favorite line in the Black culture is, "We're just gonna pray about it." Oh, that's good. Who said that?
That's unique. The first one was Tasha.
I knew that was unique.
The first one was Tasha. The second one was unique.
We just gonna pray about it when it comes to all health issues. Excuse me. I need to get some water like Eric. Any comments on that?
I think it's one of them things. A lot of times it's just that it's silly superstition. If you think about how even like how we talk about diabetes, and we always it runs in our family, stuff like that, and then doctors will tell you your eating habits run in your family,
recipes,
and things like that. Yeah, and so I think that's the same way. They're scared of hospice because grandmama was scared of hospice, and mama was scared of hospice, and uncle was scared of hospice, and we don't even know why we're scared of hospice.
Don't even know what it is. Majority of people, I guarantee you, they can't tell you what hospice even is. Let alone
just know it's a no-no.
3 years in hospice.
So I think that's a huge point, because I'm thinking about it from this perspective here. Black people don't hardly the Black people I know that's older, they got Asian parents, whatever. They don't typically put their parents in nursing homes either, because they're fearful of not being taken care of well, right? At least the ones I deal with. I'm not sure if that's a generalization or if that's something that's actually happening. So I wonder, is it a fear factor being not known, like going back to what you're saying, not knowing, just not knowing. So it's more about education, right? So who can educate Black community about hospice? It's each one of us, right? To the ones that know about hospice, just like mental health, just like doctors. We all got to do our part to reach one, teach one.
Yeah. I would imagine this is Deborah Goodson. I'm not real sure. She says, "I'm just one of those ones who gonna pray about it."
That's Deborah.
We're not, and none of us are saying don't pray about it, but faith without works is dead. Like, God wants us to in my opinion, this is my opinion, He wants us to pray about it. And not excessively pray about it over and over again. You pray about it, ask for direction, and then a lot of times we'll get the answer. Like, it'll come to us. We're like, no, that ain't the answer. God didn't want that for me. God may have, you can receive a letter in the mail that say hospice, and you will get that in your hand after you just got done praying, and you'll be like, oh well, I don't know what this is. Throw it in the trash. You know what I'm saying?
Blame it on the devil. You're not today, devil.
Right.
People don't
Praying is good. Pray. Do that. Like, we want to always make sure we pray. However, we want to make sure that we do our part. And praying is not a substitution for education. It just ain't.
Black people think that if they don't know about it, it won't happen. And hospice is a good.
That was my belief. That was my belief to last year.
Yes, we have to pray about it and seek help at the same time. You know what?
Yes.
Your faith is not to control God. Your faith is to show God how much faith you have in Him. That's really what it is. But it's not to control Him. Hey, look here, y'all. We're going to go to a quick break. Hey, King, I mean, that's great comments. I really appreciate it. Dr. Megan had to leave. She had other engagements. She says, thank you guys for allowing her to come on the show. We appreciate you for coming on the show. We got to be able to get her information out just a little bit. Absolutely. All right. Hey, look, we'll see you guys in about, 30 more seconds. Ace's Place.
I don't get my real intro. What the? You know what?
It's your real intro.
I'm gonna need.
Ladies and gentlemen, this Ace's Place. We went over a little bit, so he's got 60 seconds.
Oh man, boy, look, I'm gonna need therapy after this. Okay, so today's Ace's Place.
If you don't break it, you're gonna need hospice after this.
I want to talk about something that's kind of really been on my mind. You know, when you look at social media, TV, and everything like that, as a community, we have to really start drilling in the self-love, and because right now all we're seeing is self-hate. You know, I think about the Brittany Griner situation. I think about Sha'Carri Richardson, and you look at those comments, and it's just bashing. You know, there's no sympathy, there's no empathy, and definitely in certain situations they were wrong. But at the same time, okay, they were wrong. They learned their lesson. Now let's heal. You know, it's like we don't have a good thing to say for each other. You know, we don't have, we don't have good advice. We don't have encouragement. We don't have positivity. And then on the flip side, you'll take what I call self-hate, You got the situation with like Young Thug, going to jail for some things, or you have like, your cousin, your uncle, your brother, your homeboy that done killed somebody and stuff like that. And we'll have number positive things. We hollering free them. You can know they're guilty. You know for a fact they're guilty, but it's free my, free such and such, free such and such. Let him out. They tripping, blah blah blah. And why is it that we can't get behind the positive things and try to provide solutions and try to push forward and get better? But we'll get behind the negative thing, like we make it a way of life. Like that's who it is. We glorify that negative. We glorify the self-hate. You'll post a good fight before you post an inspirational quote. Why is it that viral videos are like 12 girls fighting and weave going everywhere or twerking on the headlights or something like that? But, black law students all graduating, 12 of them graduating in one class with high grades doesn't go viral. That's really my message, as far as we got to really try to focus on self-love, and we got to get rid of self-hate. And I think it's going to take each one of us, because we have to take a stand. We have to start just making that uncool. We have to start changing the norm, changing the culture. And we have to start getting behind the positive, and we have to start pushing that the same way that they push negative. It's got to start with each one of us now. That's it.
I can definitely agree with that. I think that it boils down to one word: drama. Right? Like we, as a people, sometimes we get caught up in the idea that drama, that we love drama. Right? That's why the shows like the Housewives, et cetera, all these shows are so popular, because misery loves company. People like to see other people be in misery, right? So if I can look and I can see, whereas you get on, where I see you going through something, I feel better about my situation, right? That's why a lot of times people feel some type of way about being on Facebook, because all you're looking at is their personal highlight reel, right? So if I'm looking and I see your personal highlight reel, then I feel some type of way about my life, right? I feel down about certain things, and that's why the first part of the show about therapy is so important, because we have to start to unpack some of these things and find out why it is that we feel these ways, right? Because we can liken it to the Woody Lynch letter, but how many centuries ago was the Woody Lynch letter? And we understand that, a lot of things are being cycled through time, right? But until we start to actually sit down and decide to take individual personal accountability to overcome some things that we're dealing with, we always going to struggle to find ourselves coming out of that. Well, I'm doing better than him. Like I said, as long as I got more than Adrian, I'm happy. Like, you know what I mean? The minute Adrian get more than me, oh no, I hate Adrian. He ain't this. He ain't no good. We have to, and that comes from lack of self-love, which is something we all need to work on. Like, we all need to be more in love with ourselves individually.
Thank you very much for that, Ace. Ace's Place brought to you by King Tom. We don't have a fun.
King Thomas Financial Service. There you
go. Black Taboos. We talked therapy at the beginning, a little bit about hospice. I think one of the most important things in most people's lives, the Bible says, I will make you rich and add no sorrow to it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with riches. But this is what I think as we get ready to talk about our next portion of the show, which is life insurance. I think that our generation, King, has to be the generation, especially of Black people, to make that sacrifice for the next generation. We have to educate, and then we have to sacrifice, which means we have to have that life insurance, those policies and annuities and all these different things. We have to not live for our weekend. We have to almost live for our children's weekend. So our life, I should say, so that they can enjoy some of the benefits of having some wealth, having land, having businesses, and all the things that we don't have. I know that on average, that if a Black person dies, it's not how much they leave, it's how many people have to pull together to put the body in the ground. Okay, yep. So let's get into that discussion. And the interesting part for everybody who's watching, thank you guys for watching us right now. But the interesting part of the three guys on this show, not counting myself, so King Thomas Johnson, Eric Russell, and the Ace, all three are licensed life insurance agents. Am I saying that correctly?
Correct.
So let's
correct.
get into it. Why is it that Black people do we not have the knowledge of what life insurance is, or we just what is it? Let's talk about it.
Definitely.
Priorities.
Yeah. It's not a priority because, again, we don't have the education to understand how it actually works, right? Everybody understands what generational wealth is, right? Generational wealth is basically leaving money for your family over time, right? That's the general concept of it. But if I don't understand that there's only one guaranteed way that I can do that, right? I can build a business, I can get real estate, I can do all those type of things, but the only guaranteed way is life insurance. Why? Because we're all gonna die. Like none of us can get out of this life alive. So if I put myself in a position to where I have life insurance and it's an adequate amount, right? Then I leave my family in a position to where they can start to grow. Now, our grandparents, like one thing that I've learned is that, you know, our grandparents, parents or whatever, they couldn't get life insurance, right? Like early 1900s, it wasn't available to them. They're not grandparents. What could they get? Like I was talking to a loved one today, and they got $1,000 paid up policy. Right?
That's big compared to what they really could. That's big compared to what they were letting you get.
Right. And think about that. $1,000 paid up policy. Now it was paid up 40 years ago, right? That was the most they can get at the time. To where our parents, they weren't privy to the information that's available in our fingertips today. Between YouTube and the access of information that's out there in the world, it's so much opportunity for us to grow and us to learn how to actually use life insurance, right? Understanding should you get term, whole life, universal, right? And that's just the initial foundation. We all also understand that a house has a foundational structure, right? That's the most important part of a house. Life insurance is a big part of that foundation. Having a strong trust and will in place is another big part of that foundation. Nothing else matters when it comes to accumulation and preserving all those tools if you don't have a strong foundation. So getting educated on the purpose of life insurance and not doing like we talked about earlier, going by what Big Mama told you. Big Mama grew up in a different time. Her options and her options for life insurance were different than what they are for us, right? It's so many, it's not a lot of different things, but there are so many different things that go into how much life insurance a person needs. And it's going to be different for all four of us, right? But until we get comfortable and we normalize the conversation of having life insurance and why life insurance is important, then we will struggle. Because people rather go out and have a good weekend, going out and out to eat and doing all this type of stuff, as opposed to making sure they have a life insurance policy in place. You wouldn't, Adrian, you remember, like we talked about earlier, like people are spending their life insurance money on something else. I'm not saying go hungry, starve, and activate their life insurance early, but put yourself in the position to where you have coverage in place to protect your legacy. Because these GoFundMes and these barbecue plates, that's stuff for the birds. That's for the birds. We can get technical and we can dive into the different concepts of life insurance if you all want to do that. But initially, it's about having the conversation, right? Yeah. And understanding that job insurance is not adequate. All that is
tired at 3 o'clock.
It's straight turn.
At 3:01, you ain't got nothing.
Extra, just like that. And even from there, a statistic people don't know is only 10% of those policies actually paid. You know how many clients I actually sit down with, and we have to put things in place. And they told me about relatives that all they had was work insurance. And it's been months, right? Like my wife says all the time, months and Sundays, and that policy still ain't paid.
They purposely delay, they have so many, you got to think they have so many people on those group policies. They have technicality where they need to review. They need to. Some of them might even say, "Hey, we need an autopsy. We need to make sure this." Or, it's so much fine print that you don't get to see because that's not your policy. That's their policy. They just letting you jump on. So you don't know who they. You don't know who they in business with. They just offered it to you, and it's cheap, so get it all, $1.15 stuff like that. But
$1.15 for $600,000 worth of
yeah.
But okay, let's talk a little bit about it, because we got people out there listening. They're trying to figure out what to do. Some people have cash and they need to know what to do with their cash.
Bring it to the ace.
Do you do a 401k, or do you do an annuity life insurance policy? Break that down for us.
It all depends.
I'll just say everybody's different, because everybody's situation is different. Everybody has different goals.
Yes.
That's why I tell people all the time, I'm not going to dive into all this, but be careful who you talk to. If you go to somebody and they have one solution and it's cookie cutter, like if you and two of your friends come and they got the exact same solution for you and your two friends, no thank you, because everybody's different. Everybody has, it's just like, us right here on the show. Eric has 2 kids and they're younger. I have 3 kids, they're teenage and older, and you have one child that's, older, it's everybody's different. Everybody has different goals. Everybody has different things going on. So nothing is cookie cutter. And you have to, as long as you understand that, then, and you have somebody to sit down and talk to, they'll put your goals out in front of you, and y'all can do that together.
Absolutely. And in our community, we don't talk to financial advisors, because we try to pigeonhole and put them into life insurance agents. Now, disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor. I still have certain certificates and licenses I still have to obtain in order to do that. But I work hand in hand with financial advisors. And Anthony, to answer your question, when you have cash, like Adrian said, it depends, right? How do you want your money to grow, right? Like how fast you want your money to go? Do you need it to be liquid, not liquid, right? Like it's so many different ways. You can do a whole life insurance policy, as you mentioned. A 401k rule of thumb with a 401k, do not pay more than what the company is matching. Like how many of us know whether or not a company matches our 401k? If they do, don't pay a penny more than that. Use that money to invest elsewhere, right? You might need to invest in a Roth IRA, right? A brokerage account, a money market account. It's so many different things that you can do, and vehicles you can put your money in and allow your money to grow. But again, this goes to the education part, which is why I wanted to get into this business. I've been in the life insurance business for 12 years. I can say I specialize in life insurance, right? But what I don't have an extensive knowledge of is what the wealthy are doing, right? So that's what I want to learn to do, so I can become a resource and come back and teach you all as viewers, and teach our community how we can start to own things. Because right now we don't have a strong voice because we don't own them.
I think that a lot of Black people and our viewers, when they hear the word life insurance, what they're hearing is, when I die, these people get this: my kids, my family, my loved ones, whoever it may be, my beneficiaries. But that's not the only portion of life insurance. You can actually benefit from your life insurance when you live.
Yeah,
y'all should speak to that.
That's the bottom. For everybody out here, we're talking life insurance. Death is the absolute bottom of life insurance. It's the lowest. Like, that's a given. It's like, well, I need something to get buried. So that's the absolute, lowest. You have living benefits that you can get paid while you're living for certain situations. Accident insurance. Some companies even have, they break it down to specifics, cancer insurance and things like that. If you get diagnosed, the policy pays you. It's so many different things, and that goes back to what I said again. And I know the fellas agree with me. If you go somewhere and it's cookie cutter, you need to leave, because you need options. You need to see, somebody needs to look at your goal and your vision and then say, you know what? Well, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about this? Or look at this. You have to have those options. But go ahead, E. So
2 things I want to just really quick to say is that 401k versus the life insurance policy, in my opinion. 401k, you get to retire with that money per se, right? And beneficiary at the end of death. We're talking about life insurance. That's like these guys are saying, there's so much you can do with life insurance. In the meanwhile, you can use it for living. You can live it for retirement. You can live it for beneficiaries. There's so many different things you can do with life insurance. So again, I would definitely say that do your research, talk to somebody, and get more information about life insurance. And I think you're right. I think it's interesting. Everything we talked about today, we talked about mental health, we talked about hospice, we talked about life insurance. We're big. We're as a community. We're big talking about life and what we're doing in life and the highlights of life. But we don't talk about death. All these things have something to do with death. Mental health is you want to talk about life and mental health. How you gonna live life better? We don't talk about it because that's part of it, right? We want to live like we've been living it. Hospice is about death. We don't talk about death. Life insurance is about death. So I think we really got to really take some time and some start to think about why that is about with our community, especially because it's not about, like Anthony says, it's not really like about us. It's about the legacy we're leaving for our kids and for our families. And so I think that's something we really have to talk about, continue the conversation about, especially I'm gonna say this, and I think it's a whole community conversation, but I definitely think Black men should be leading this conversation because technically we are the leaders in the household. So I believe that we have to take some accountability in that regard to have these conversations and then trickle it down from there. But I'm not saying that nobody can have this conversation. I think everybody should have this conversation.
Yes.
Right. So as far as the Black community, let me do a quick synopsis for everybody. Like King Thomas said earlier, so in the early 1900s, Black folks were not even allowed to get insurance. The reason being is because life insurance is a foundation for wealth. They were not gonna allow a Black person to get guaranteed money. Death is guaranteed. So time goes on and you get a few companies that say, hey, you know what? We don't like the black skin, but the green money is okay. So now you have the policies like King Thomas was talking about. So it started off, I think you could get $500.
$500,000.
And so what was going on is at that point in time, that's how much it cost to bury somebody. So they were giving you money to bury that person and not a penny more. You're not sending little Keisha to college. You're not sending Daniel to, a special school or getting piano lessons. You're going to bury the dead. Now, me and Thomas, we started with debit insurance. And as a community, I do tell people, pay attention to who's in your house and who. I don't care if grandmama had this, mama had this, because this is what's going on. Now, King Thomas, Eric, I know right now, we all can say, like, somebody have $100,000 policy. It's like, okay, that ain't really no money for insurance policy. Don't get me wrong, $100,000, but that's like, okay, that's nothing, right? Well, most of the companies that's in the Black community that's doing the most business in the Black community, if you're an agent and you work for them, and Eric, check this out. If you're an agent and you work for them, if you went out today and wrote somebody a $35,000 policy, do you know they would look at you crazy, and then they would have to research their policy, and they would say, "Are you sure they can pay for that?" And then it wouldn't automatically approved because it's $35,000, but they don't have enough confidence in the Black community that that you can even handle that. And most companies, they don't even have policies that go past $35,000-$40,000 that do.
That's because they
in the Black community. Yeah, because that's all they specialize in. And those are the companies that's in our community and that's that's doing the most business. So what I mean by saying this is the funds that are being wasted on these basic policies that they're pushing. These are the funds that could be on bigger policies for the same amounts of money, bigger policies that are working for you and that are doing something for the community. So this is the money that could be going for the investments and things like that. But we have to stop. We have to stop letting people infiltrate the community and give us junk. So some of these life insurance companies that's in our neighborhood, it's no different than that check cash in place or that gun store, that liquor store, that fast food.
Absolutely not.
So be careful and beware. And some of us that's on here and you watching things like that, you need to tell grandmama this. You need to tell Aunt so-and-so this that still live on the block and stuff like that. These the conversations need to be had too.
Yeah, homework assignment for everybody. Just real quick, homework assignment for everybody. Google or ask your banking institution how they make money on your money. I just want everybody to do that. So I'll leave it at that.
Come on. Like I say, let's have a conversation. Right? Like one thing that I think that that's a big misconception is that life insurance is for the dead, right? It's not. It's for the living. Life insurance is absolutely for the living, because when you pass, you leave that money behind, right? And let's talk about what Eric just mentioned. Your banks, they invest their money in whole life insurance policy, right? They like the money that we have, and I'm not gonna get too technical, but they basically take your money that you put in the bank, take a portion of it, a large portion of it, and they put that money into a whole life insurance policy, and they allow that money to grow. Like, this is the power of whole life insurance that people don't understand when it comes to being for the living, right? We wonder how our counterparts can flip homes, ain't got no problem paying down payments on houses, right? Can start a business. They can do all these different things because a lot of times they have cash value whole life insurance policy. For you all that want to look, go to YouTube, Infinite Banking, Bank of Whole Life, or like Eric said, what does your bank do with your money, right? And it'll tell you, it'll break down exactly where your money goes. So not understanding that I can put my money into something that's going to kill two birds with one stone. One is going to be a life insurance policy, but two is going to accumulate cash value, not for me just to borrow from it because I want to, do something not bad, but just do something that is not counterintuitive, not along the lines of starting a business or getting a home loan, putting a down payment on your home. You're using it to just buy outfit. I don't know. You're just misappropriating the money. You're not using it in the most efficient way, right? You're using to pay a premium because you spent your money on something you shouldn't have, right? So understanding that this policy is accumulating, and right now some companies is growing at a 5.5% rate. Your money that you got sitting, festering in a savings account ain't even making 0.5%. Yet still, we don't understand. We don't know. Well, we don't know, and that's where the education comes in. The education comes in to us as Black men having this conversation. Us talking to Big Mama, saying, Big Mama, first of all, knowing how much insurance Big Mama got. Like, not waiting until Big Mama in hospice on her deathbed or is gone for us to say, Big Mama had no insurance. How you ain't had nobody that didn't know Big Mama ain't got no insurance? How you don't know that your mom and dad ain't got no insurance? Oh, by the way, you can put insurance on your mother and father, right? And it not be there to pay for their burial. It's there as an inheritance. You can absolutely do that. I did that with my father. I was paying for a policy to where if something were to happen to him, that money will come into, not because I'm trying to get rich, come to my household, but because I didn't know at the time how much insurance he had, because my father had a love-hate relationship. And I ain't trying to put your business out here, Dad. I still love you. I know you love me. But he has a love-hate relationship with insurance men. And I understand why, from the standpoint that he tell me about how back in the day, Adrian, we was talking about it, the insurance man come by the neighborhood, pull up in his Cadillac, don't even get out the car. And he run the payment out to him. So it's like that type of stuff is ingratiated in our parents' mindset, where all they know is the insurance man. And the insurance man didn't look like us, and they was in our neighborhoods taking advantage of our parents, of their parents, our grandparents.
Still today?
Well, you know what though? You made a comment. You made a comment that I think Black people need to hear the opposite of, actually. You said, I'm not trying to do it to get rich. But see, the problem is we all need to do it to get rich, because if we don't do it, then it breaks us. It takes from us. Now we pull it together. So you don't do it, you might get poor. So you might as well do it to get rich. While you were talking, and we're about to wrap it up, there's a few things I was thinking about while y'all were talking. Tradition, history, and culture. I think culture is very important. I think that should be the only thing that we really focus on. Black people focus on traditions, and traditions, unfortunately, they're out of style. History, unfortunately, keeps us behind. But we need to focus on having the culture. If we strengthen the culture and we make the culture a whole lot better, then we can focus on that, and I think we can grow from that. But traditions, America is not even a traditional-based country at all. Not like Japan, not like some of these Asian countries, not like Europe even. We're not traditional. We are America. We're a whole lot different. Hey, King, man, I really appreciate you for being on the show. You've enlightened us quite a bit. My girl, Angie Brown, she says, man, this is some good stuff, y'all. Hey, this has been a pretty good show. I've enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. What's up to everybody, all our Haitian people that's watching from Haiti? I see y'all on here in the comments and everything. Appreciate y'all for tuning in.
No
This
doubt.
is what they asked me. This is what they just asked me. I got this text. This text says, let me read it real quick. It says, "Hey, yo, Ace, who do we have on the show next week?"
I'm discussing the topics that have to deal with the Black families. And you know the food or the drink is good when the person says swallow instead of swallow. We're going to have an interview with librarians with Tourette syndrome. And the name of the show is going to be titled Breaking the Rules. So we will have their mics muted most of the time. Married couples that swing at the playground. Are they confused or just risk takers? Giggity, giggity. We'll see how that goes. You know,
Adrian, the Ace Stetson, and the rest of the rebrandUS crew live Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Central on YouTube and Instagram at rebrandUS Podcast, Facebook at rebrandUS, or rebrandUS.org.
I work too hard. Look, I work too hard for this stuff, man.
I like that. Giggity.
Hey, yo, Ace, who do we have on the show next week?
Well, next, man, I found a group of people that actually need therapy themselves, but they agreed to come on the show because we're going to find some help. So next week, we're going to interview kindergarten teachers that have to pre-read the lesson so they don't mess up. Girl, go on and see Jane run and pass these papers out.
Wow. Pre-read, okay.
Hey, King Thomas Johnson, man, I really appreciate you for being on the show. I think you've enlightened us quite a bit with the information that you've given us, not just with life insurance, also with, you know, your hospice and therapy and all those, and you've asked some really good questions. Hey, Dr. Megan, we know you can't see us right now. She's on another podcast as we speak. We thank you for being on the show. It has been absolutely fun. It's been great. For Kim, who's away today, and Eric and Ace, man, we really appreciate all those who all spoke today, who all sent us some messages. I know Janique was on. And
Janique,
Tasha,
he gonna get us in trouble calling names.
Angie,
Miss Deborah,
yeah.
Ma Anthony came through.
Ma Anthony. All right. Well, hey, look, all y'all, we really appreciate y'all for being on, watching the show. 8-2. I know my auntie was on earlier. Hey, look, y'all. Join us next week. I'm sure we're gonna bring you some fire with these kindergarten teachers who have to pre-read the lesson. See y'all next week. Thank you.